Well, that was a movie.
Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, this is Eric, and today we're giving our first thoughts on the Crow reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it, starring Bill Skarsgård. It was directed by Rupert Sanders of Snow White and the Huntsman fame. And real quick before we get into it, I do want to talk about the original one, just the 1994 one. Oh, wow. Hold on. 30 years. I didn't even realize it was a 30-year anniversary thing. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, they got it out in 30 years finally.
I watched it last night for the first time ever, so my opinions are completely unshrouded by any sort of nostalgia or anything like that. Yours, however, you grew up, you were like, what, 14 when it came out? Something like that?
It was like 94? Oh,
94?
11, 12.
11, yeah. So you have talked to me before about how much you liked it. So first, let me know why you like it, and we can go from there.
A lot of it was because it was, I was 11, 12.
Yeah.
It's a very 90s movie, like very 90s. It suffers
It
from...
also actually surprisingly is very 80s too.
Yeah, well, it had a lot of 80s music.
Yeah.
A lot of 80s music. I mean, the Cure is the big song throughout the whole song when he's running on the rooftops and stuff.
Yeah. What's the song that he plays on the guitar on the rooftop?
I'm pretty sure that's his song. I'm
Okay,
pretty sure it's a written song.
That had
like his band song.
cracking up.
Yeah. I know that it's not perfect. It's got some cheesy stuff, but I still think it held up. When I watched it a couple years ago, I was expecting to go, oh, this is just nostalgia. That's the only reason I like it. But I did still like the movie. It's, the director has no specific style. It's not stuck out, but I just like the dark atmosphere.
It's a very stylized movie. Yeah.
It's I like the idea of the character. Revenge stories are good. They can be. They can be depending how they're told. I like a good revenge story. I like and again at that time, especially at that time, like the goth thing was big. Crazy.
Yeah.
That was what grabbed me into the movie originally. But it was probably the first movie that I ever loved, and was probably what turned me on to getting into movies. So it's got a big place in my heart, and I love it for that reason.
Sure.
And I was fine with this coming out. I'm not like one of these like, oh, you ruined my childhood because that movie now that movie's still as good as I thought it was.
It doesn't affect it at all.
No, I hate when
it's the same thing with like Star Wars. Every time they put out a new shitty Star Wars, it's like, the other 6 still exist.
And they're still good, right?
Yeah.
People were losing their minds about the Ghostbusters thing. That's one big thing they were saying. You're ruining my childhood. No,
I just didn't watch the new ones.
Yeah, they don't exist in my world. I don't even know they existed. So.
I have my own canon,
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so like I said, I watched the original for the first time last night, and I think what I said to you right when we first started talking about it was, I didn't like that, but I could see why somebody would. Especially if I was a kid when it came out, I would have been all in on it. But it's like, it is very aged. It is. It shows its age. It's very much a product of the time, where it's like right in between Tim Burton Batman and Joel Schumacher Batman. And it feels like that. Like I jokingly said, this feels like if only Joel Schumacher had directed a Batman movie. And it's like, because it was like, we're going to do the Tim Burton grittiness with the cheese and stylism of Joel Schumacher. And so it was caught in between eras was what it felt like. And it was very unique for that. And then, I've actually talked a million times on this channel how much I don't like revenge movies because I think they're boring. But, it's got a pretty thin plot, but it's fine. It's cinematic. It's more about the vibe and the feel of the movie than what's actually happening. And it's like, it's still the like, what would you do for love thing is also in there, and everybody can relate to that to an extent. So I thought it was fine. I think it was probably, honestly, and I hate to sound like a hater or whatever, I think it was probably overhyped because of the Brendan Lee thing, which it sucks, but like anytime that happens, it builds a mysticism around the thing. And so I think that to a lesser extent, but same thing with Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight would have been amazing anyway, but if Heath Ledger didn't die, I think there was no way he was getting the Oscar. That's the difference. So it's kind of the same thing with that movie probably could have been straight to VHS, but because of the Brendan Lee thing, it was like theatrical release and became a cult classic and all of those things. So I thought it was fine. I kept thinking during it, this would make a great drunk review though. So I was like, maybe I'll do that. Now seeing this one,
you should do the sequels, especially there's a couple.
Oh yeah,
there's I got 3 or 4 of them, okay. And after the second one, they're direct to DVD. So
after today, I was thinking maybe I'll do a Now and Again or Now and Then, whatever I call that series. of The Crow because both would make a great drunk review for very different reasons.
Yeah.
The first one is silly and stupid but fun. This one makes you kind of mad. So it's a slightly different vibe, but yeah, so before we get too into spoilers, we're gonna get into spoilers very quick. I feel like all you need to know about this, I can sum this movie up in one phrase, and I said this to you, you may disagree with me, but I think every flaw with the first one was fixed in this, but everything good about the first one was ruined in the process. So it's like there was, I don't know, what do you want to say? 40% of the original Crow was silly and goofy, and they're like, let's fix this 40%. It doesn't make sense. Get rid of that. And then that 60% though, that was actually solid or interesting or cool, got fucked to no end in this. And so it's like you ended up worse by trying to fix it, and that's so frustrating because I watched as they made correct decisions horribly, and it was just so frustrating. So I don't know. I'm ready to talk in spoilers. Is there anything you want to say before we do that?
No, because I'm going to talk about this movie.
I think it'll probably piss off like hardcore fans of the original more so than like me. But it still frustrated me because it was, just poorly made in so many areas.
I did not like it at all. But when you change things, if you're changing things, you got to make them better.
Do it for a reason.
Yes, a reason.
And like I said, they did do a lot of things for reasons. And then just fucked it up.
I didn't like his look. The dialogue was bad at times, and therefore his acting was really bad at times. I mean, not just him, but everyone.
Dialogue was bad in the first one. Just saying.
It's product of its time. That's all I'm gonna say about that. It can't be good all the time.
All right, so we're gonna get into spoilers. Honestly, I don't feel like anybody's gonna be too disappointed to have this movie spoiled, so I recommend sticking around and listening to what we have to say. But if you do want to avoid spoilers, please click away, go watch it, come back, and we can talk about it then. But don't forget to like, share. If you're new here, subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye. So, spoilers. So, I mean, real quick, the plot of the original one, for anybody who doesn't know, is you have these two characters who live in an apartment that is in this city that is being run by this kingpin of sorts, who just fucks with people because he loves anarchy, essentially. He sets shit on fire, he kicks people out of their apartments because, haha, I can. And so they're like, you don't have any right to kick us out of our apartment. And he goes, oh, really? Haha, you're dead. And so then, because it was such an unjust killing, and because there was unfinished business, this mystical thing, classified as a crow, brings back the main character to life to finish and make right what had happened by killing the bad guy. And then once he does that, now he can rest. His girlfriend has gone to heaven, gone up, ascended, and now he can follow her. This whole time he's doing it for revenge, and then he's leaving. This movie, they don't know each other at all until they meet each other at prison rehab. Whatever. Fucking military school. Whatever this fucking place was where they wear pink sweaters. And so by the time they eventually do get caught by the bad guy, they're caught because she's trying to blackmail him for something she caught him doing, so he wants to kill her. But also, this bad guy isn't just a kingpin. He's also made a deal with the devil where he's trading innocent souls so that he can go to heaven and not go to hell. And so now that he's killed them, the good guy, the crow, has to come back to life to sort of get revenge, but it's more about like love. And then after that fails and doesn't work, now he's doing it because vindication. I don't know, it was so muddled and so many extra things that just didn't need to be there. And he doesn't even become the crow until so he comes back to life like an hour into this 2-hour movie, and then he becomes the crow after he comes back to life a second time, which is another half hour after that. So he's only the crow for like the last half hour of this movie, and it was just like, okay, I have a legitimate gripe with the original one, on that you never really get to care about the couple. Sure, I get it. You want to add backstory, cool, but they made them so unlikable in this that now I'm like, I wish I knew less about them. Because the girl, first of all, Bill Skarsgård, I love him as an actor. I normally really like him. He was doing a Hayden Christensen impression this whole movie, which was an odd choice, but it actually got me thinking he should have been in Dune instead of Timothée Chalamet, but whatever.
Yeah.
Rabbit holes. This girl, I don't know who she is. She's fine. I don't know. I don't care. They have no chemistry at all.
No.
And also, they're not particularly likable characters. In the first one, I was like, you had the idea. They're just your every person. It's not like they're bastions of morality, but they're just people.
Yeah.
They didn't deserve to die. In this, they're not good people.
Not good people.
I don't like them, and I'm not rooting for them, and I'm not rooting for their romance. And then because she went to hell, because of the pact with the devil, but she also wasn't a good person either.
Right.
And so then it's like, you had to muddle up the story by adding in all of these other. It was such a mess. It was a mess of a story that didn't make any sense.
I much preferred in the first ones getting their background story through the flashbacks as opposed to. I felt with this one again, like they didn't just say how long the relationship had lasted before all this went down, but it literally like it was 2 days.
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to care that they're so deeply in love after 2 days, and they just kept going to clubs, and they had 40 minutes of this, and that's the stuff that I didn't need any of that.
I would have been cool with 20 minutes of a backstory, but by having them meet in this prison rehab center thing,
it was so confusing.
It's like they should have just been living in the apartment together for 20 minutes.
Did they ever say why he was in the quote-unquote rehab?
Because he drew pictures of the devil in his free time. He also got face tattoos. Yeah, he's not sane. Sorry to anybody who has face tattoos. Am I? I don't know.
He was the Joker, man. They literally saw what they did with Jared Leto, and we're like, let's do that.
To be fair, I can show you my notes. I called Brendan Lee's performance Jared Leto-esque in my review watching the first one, but I think they went, this reminds me of Jared Leto, and went too far in that direction.
Well, I mean, it would be the other way around. It would be Jared Leto acted like Brendan Lee.
Well, that's fair, but whatever.
Yeah, but it's just, I mean, literally, the everything, the random ass stupid tattoos were dumb, just like the Joker's. They didn't make sense. They were stupid. They were goth and dark.
Somebody went to a Pinterest board of punk, instead of just actually being a punk.
It was awful. His look was terrible. He didn't look the part, which is fine. I don't mind. They changed all the makeup throughout all the movies. It's fine, but the first one, in my opinion, was the best. And you did reference, so they did do some things they did the makeup scene where he made his face up after forever. And while yes, when you think about it, really it is cheesy that a guy just came back from the dead is just putting on makeup.
Yeah,
it's
that
really
was one of my biggest gripes with the first
cheesy. But what I like the whole becoming of the Crow thing way better than the first one. This when he comes from the grave and he's in pain,
I missed the grave thing. And
this when he died and came back. Well, I was certain he died, and then when he came back so quickly, there was a second in my head I was like, wait, did he actually die right there?
Yeah. It's also, in the first one, they're, confident that they killed him, and so when they see him, it's it's a ghost. In this one, they're like, well, we put a bag on his head.
Yeah, exactly.
And then a guy comes in and shoots him multiple times. I'm like, oh, now they're going to think he's dead. But then that guy dies, so he can't tell anybody, oh, I killed him. Yeah. So everybody else is just like, hey, aren't you dead? I thought you were dead.
Thought you were dead.
But, I'm not shocked that you're not, really.
Yeah. How did you feel about, the purgatory area? I know it wasn't in the first one. I don't know if it was in the comics. I thought it was okay.
I thought it was okay, and I thought it looked really cool. I loved the visuals of this movie, the visual style as a whole of this movie. It just felt needless. On paper, I liked a lot of the additions they had, making the bad guy also have something spiritual and mystical about him was an improvement on paper. Right. But what they did with it was so pointless that it just felt tacked on and didn't go anywhere. Yeah. The Purgatory, same thing. Was I was like, they added it so they could have exposition, because in the first one you just have Brendan Lee go, Crow shit. And you're like, okay, I don't know how he knows that, but somebody told him that, I guess. In this one, because you have the backstory first instead of in flashbacks, somebody needs to tell him the crow shit, so they had to add in a character to do that. And then, so that's a little bit frustrating, because it's so uncool that way. So I understand the need and the purpose of these things, but they just never really fully landed for me. I really, I really enjoyed the extra the idea of the extra mysticism, because it was like, yeah, sure, if a crow is bringing you back to life, why isn't the devil making deals with people? Sure, it's better than some random dude with long hair that fucks his cousin or sister and sets shit on fire for no reason. Like, yeah, the villain is cool because he's played by a cool actor. The character himself fucking sucks.
Well, that would be, I would like, this being an old man villain gave me like those vibes from Wonder Woman when the reveal was in.
Yeah, I've seen this villain a million times.
It's like, it's just an old guy. Like,
Yeah.
but it, like, I mean, you're right. I mean, he is just a bad guy, but he's played by a good actor who did a good job with the role. This
Yeah.
guy was played by, I recognize the guy. I don't know who he is.
I think he was in Wolverine as well, doing the
yeah.
same basic thing
And then
of just
for me,
evil
I'm not mad that
businessman.
they went with something mystical. I just think it was cheesy.
Exactly.
It's because, like you said, like, okay, I mean, a crow brings this guy back to life. This world has this stuff in it. Like, it's
silly.
possible.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
if that can happen, this can happen.
Why
but
not?
it's
Yeah.
it was just silly the way they did it.
They almost fixed the makeup thing, because I laughed in both movies when he put on makeup,
Yeah, yeah.
because it really is just like,
If
I'm back from the dead.
If you really, dude, yeah, it's like I always say.
Now I'm ready.
It's the exact quote I always say in like video games when you're in a demons.
Candles.
You're in a demon, you know, where demons are, and there's lit candles. Who's lighting that? What demon is going on lighting all these candles?
And so in this, there's a moment where, so because they add in all this mumbo jumbo about selling souls and shit, he's like, he starts bleeding black instead of red,
Yeah.
you know, normal blood. And so he has this black coming out of his eyes and out of his mouth, and you're like, oh, that's gonna take place of the makeup.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool, we fixed it.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up in the real world
gone.
and it's not there. I'm like, what the fuck?
So then they have to see
And so then he puts on the makeup. I'm like, fuck you guys. You fixed the problem and then got rid of the solution.
Actually, in all the movies, they're all dumb. And I think in one of them, he like he's like peeling off his face. I think it was in a fire, so he's peeling off his face, and his scars were the, the makeup.
God damn it. Just like some Freddy Krueger shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it literally was every flaw that I had lined up, written out in my note on my phone about the first one. They went through, and it had to be producers going through and saying, we need to fix this, we need to fix that, we need to fix this. But then their ideas on how to fix it led to a bunch of other problems
Yeah.
that then ruined the rest of the movie. Like, I mean, like the makeup idea was probably thrown out there. We need more backstory. Okay, that was put in there. Okay, we need to explain some of the mysticism. Okay, no more fucking guitar solos on rooftops. That's stupid as shit. And just like, they went through and fixed all this, but then ruined everything else.
The first one
Also, good action scenes. They had good action scenes.
Yeah.
The action scenes in The Crow, once again, product of the time, boring as fuck.
Yeah, but I think more so product time, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, you watch Batman 89, 92, they're
Well,
boring
even
too.
I mean, you can even think Christopher Nolan's and haven't aged. as well.
Yeah. I mean,
But he's
yeah,
also
'cause
one
you
of the
think
best.
about like good action from the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
Those were the Bourne movies. Go back and rewatch the action from the Bourne movies. They suck.
Yeah, it's just time to change.
Ever
yeah.
since John Wick, action has gotten so much better
Yeah.
in movies.
Whoever did that like knows what the hell they were doing.
Yeah,
John
like
Wick
David
stuff.
Leitch. He's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
Not that this was David Leitch, but the action was.
Yeah, the action was
not
cool.
Wick levels, but it was pretty good.
Yeah,
it was
well,
entertaining.
When he became the Crow, he really the
the
action
last
really
half
took off.
hour.
Yeah, and it was bloodier and gorier, which is fine. I'm fine with
Yeah,
it. It's
good.
That movie
Good.
Actually, now that I'm saying, I don't even remember if there was blood. Was it a PG-13?
No, it's R, but it barely.
Yeah.
I think it's R because of nudity and language more than anything.
then maybe drug use.
There was
Yeah.
pointless nudity in that, which they got rid of in this. There's
Yeah.
actually, I think you see like half a second of a nipple in this,
Right.
but they actually were like, oh, there's pointless nudity in the first one. Another thing to get rid of in this.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
job,
that's the
filmmakers, but all side characters, they kind of got rid of.
I can't remember her name, but the girl who escaped, like the teenage girl that helps him through the movie.
Oh, good. They also got rid of her. Also,
Well, I was gonna
problem
say,
fixed.
well, her character is kind of pointless. I mean, I don't understand.
To be a child.
yeah.
Same reason there's a child in fucking Aliens. Just to be there, be a child.
you have to have a child in it.
It makes the movie
innocence.
worse, objectively worse, to have a kid running around
Yeah.
for no reason.
Actually,
I think probably the reason for her was for him to explain the plot to somebody.
yeah. That's
So you
kinda-
replaced her in turn with the old guy,
Yeah,
the angel.
yeah.
Man,
not
yeah.
a good movie.
No, this movie's not good.
I would seriously give this like a 3.
I was thinking 4 to 5. I think because it pissed you off more than it pissed me off.
yeah.
I also, there's legitimately good things about it. Like the cinematography was fun at times. There's a couple of really cool shots where like they're in water or there's just a big open area and it just looks really cool. The action is a lot of fun, even if it's only for half an hour. I think, you know, it's hard to judge Bill Skarsgård for his performance in this because it's what they asked him to do, but I thought he did a really good job with what he was asked to do.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just say like 4.5 for now, because like, yes, it definitely was stupid, but like, it's more, to me, it was more forgettable than anything, and I'm just like, I kind of just like, all right, whatever, and I'm done. I'm not going to think about it anymore.
Yeah. And it didn't seem like enough people are interested in it. I don't think it's going to make enough money to warrant sequels. So
no, I'm pretty sure it was estimated to make $8 million its opening weekend.
Oh, that's less than Borderlands.
Is it?
Yeah, they made 10.
Oh well. That whole last half hour, I was going, see, this could have been a great movie.
Yeah.
It could have been really good. I don't know what we were doing for the other hour and a half.
That's what I was saying. Because I know they did it in the first one, but it stuck out so much more to me in this one. Is like, because as he's trying to, you know, in the first one he's trying to find the bad guys, but in between those scenes, there's always the scene like, you know, he's on the guitar, he's suffering, you know, he's looking at photos and stuff like that. That happened a lot in the first one, but I feel like the first, when she died, that's all it was for her ever. He just kept like going to places to reminisce about her over
Which,
and over.
once again, on paper is the right decision.
Yeah.
He should be mourning. He should be whatever, lamenting. Yeah. But they did it so cheesy. Like we were, I forget if we said it on camera or in the theater, but it's like it was the MGK-ified version of The Crow, where it's like, of course you have to go that direction because you're modernizing it.
Yes.
Punk was cool in the 90s. Current punk is pretty lame, you know, so it's like, so he became lamer by association, and I get that. Luckily they didn't have any real modern punk in the soundtrack. It was a little bit of throwbacks, but like, yeah, it's a mixed bag, because there was a lot of good decisions and a lot of bad decisions that just met in the middle and became
there was a few times there was just like scenes that lasted like 10 seconds. You're like, what the fuck was that a scene for?
Yeah, it was just like, okay. And yeah, I really just didn't need them in that rehab prison.
No, that was confusing because
I thought it was prison, and then I'm like, they're both there together, and then it's like, oh, it's a rehab place. I'm like, it is, and then they're like, do jumping jacks. I'm like, why? I'm like, I don't know. I've never been to rehab. I've never been to prison. I've never been to military school, but like, this didn't remind me of anything it was supposed to. I don't think
it was all three of those ideas put together
with pink sweaters.
Yeah.
What was with the fucking opera thing? The whole opera house is soundproofed, apparently.
It's guns going off, murders, screaming.
I said to you, like, an audience member going like, oh yeah, it's very good, very good. I thought the cannons and the gunfire really added to the opera.
I didn't see them anywhere, but I heard them. I definitely heard them.
That scene though, like, really went nowhere. The whole purpose of that scene was to kill a bunch of bad guys to opera music, which I'm not complaining about, because that's fun.
Worked. Yeah.
That's fun. But like, at the end of it, you know, they're all applauding the dancers and the opera singers and stuff and the orchestra, and he comes out with 2 decapitated heads like, hello, and so everybody runs out, and I'm like, why did we do that?
Any of that? No.
And it's like, it does, and I see this is where it would piss off fans of the original. To me, I like the story that they told, even if it wasn't the same story. But the story of the first one is needless violence is a terrible thing. And the story of this one is, if you love somebody, you'll become a villain for them.
Yeah.
Which I love that story idea, but once again, that's 2 very different things. So The Crow in this became the needless violence that the first movie was preaching against.
That's true.
So,
well, maybe it's because there wasn't a guy lighting things on fire. You needed that. They didn't have that in this one. The city, it wasn't Devil's Night.
Yeah, that was such a silly part about the first one, though. I'm like, this whole thing happened because I got evicted?
Like when the crow in the first one is like flying, and you just see the overview of the city. It's literally all on fire. Like it's a war zone. Like, who the fuck?
Where the fuck are we? Well, it is Detroit.
Where's he going to live?
And I love how he's like, in that one scene, he's just lamenting. He's like, man, we used to be able to light shit on fire and people would react. Now everybody's just like, it's on fire again. We need to set the whole city on fire. It's just like, what is your motivation, my dude?
Yeah, the whole
You
thing.
just want a reaction from people? All right, that's what we had to think. You'll probably see a drunk review in the future at some point. We'll get around to it. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't care. Goodbye.
Can't rain all the time.
Can rain on my parade.
Yeah.